Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really fascinating set of materials. It's this collection of about 100 philosophical reflections, aphorisms, really,
Hmm.
but they read less like abstract thoughts and more like a pretty rigorous instruction manual for building a life based on deliberate action.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground too. Self-governance, how you operate professionally, financial strategy, even relationships.
It's quite an intense read, actually. It kind of strips away some of the comfortable stories we tell ourselves.
It really does. And the core theme, running through all 100 reflections is this idea that structure, discipline, and frankly, cold calculation are your best defenses
Defenses against what, exactly?
against regret,
Right.
essentially, against the long-term consequences of impulsive decisions. They put it very starkly right at the beginning, which sets the tone.
What did they say?
The quote is, "Emotion comforts for a moment, but calculation saves a lifetime."
Wow. Okay, that's definitely a challenging idea, isn't it? Especially today when, spontaneity is often really celebrated. So, our mission for you listening today is to take this collection, these maxims, and pull out the clearest, most actionable rules, things you can actually use right away.
We're trying to synthesize the blueprint, so to speak, for designing that strategic, calculated life, looking at logic, discipline, wealth, relationships.
It's all about choosing that deliberate design instead of just, well, defaulting to whatever habit or mood strikes you.
Exactly. Design over default.
Okay, so if we're building this rational architecture, we have to start at the foundation. And that seems to be this internal conflict, right? Emotion versus logic.
That's the fundamental tension they tackle first. And it's crucial to understand the goal isn't to eliminate emotion. That's impossible and probably not even desirable.
Right, emotions are part of being human.
Precisely. But what the source material demands is that you separate the feeling itself from the action you take because of it. That's a really key distinction.
How do they phrase that?
They put it like this. Feelings are true. Conclusions from them are not.
Huh. Okay, unpack that a bit. Feelings are true.
Meaning, the anger you feel is real. The excitement is real. It's a valid internal state. But the conclusion you might jump to from that feeling, this person is attacking me or this deal is guaranteed gold, that's where the error creeps in.
Got it. So you acknowledge the feeling, you don't deny it, but you don't let it drive the decision-making bus.
Exactly. You honor the feeling, but you commit to a rational choice. The summary they offer is short and sharp. Feel deeply. Decide rationally.
So if you accept that, then the next logical step is impulse control. How do you actually do that separation in the heat of the moment?
Well, the simplest, most effective tool they suggest is often the hardest one to use. The pause. Just stopping.
Take your breath.
Yes, or stepping away. They frame it in terms of cost. A pause is cheaper than a mistake. That moment of hesitation, of friction before reacting, that's an investment against future problems.
And they get specific, don't they, about when pausing is most critical.
They do. They pinpoint the two most dangerous emotional states for decision-making. The explicit instructions are, don't decide when excited, don't speak when angry.
It's interesting they put excitement right up there with anger. We usually focus on anger being the problem.
Yeah, but think about it. That rush of excitement about a new opportunity, a new relationship, whatever, it can absolutely blind you to the red flags, right? Just as much as anger can.
Makes sense. You overlook the flaws in the contract or the person.
Exactly. And this idea of slowing down, it
But-
applies just as much when facing external pressure. You know, that classic high-pressure sales tactic or a social situation, pushing for an immediate yes.
Oh, yeah. This offer expires in 10 minutes.
Right. And the material offers a really strong defense against that kind of manufactured urgency. It's also a non-negotiable rule. If it must be decided now, decide no.
That's bold, but probably very effective. True urgency is rare.
Very rare. And it usually allows for at least some consideration. This rule is about protecting yourself from being rushed into bad choices.
So the core insight here feels like it's all about building defenses against your own internal volatility.
It is. It's entirely preemptive. And they use this really nice analogy to capture it. Emotion is weather. Reason is architecture.
Explain that one.
Well, you can't stop the weather, right?
Yeah.
Storms happen. You'll feel anger, fear, excitement. That's the emotional weather passing through.
Okay.
But your reason, that's the architecture of your life. If you build that structure on stable, well-thought-out principles, the passing emotional storms can't knock it down.
I like that. Reason as the structure, emotion as the weather it needs to withstand.
Precisely.
Okay, so that leads us nicely into the next area. If we manage the internal weather, how do we apply that same calculated approach outward? to our work, our goals, our actual output.
Right. This is where the philosophy turns into execution.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, because the material really pushes this idea of discipline, not as like some painful sacrifice, but as a repeatable system. It's about mechanics, not magic.
Mechanics, not motivation.
Exactly. There's a very popular line from the sources on this. You don't rise to goals. You fall to systems. Success isn't about hitting some heroic peak. It's about having reliable processes that catch you when motivation inevitably dips.
That really reframes things, doesn't it? It shifts the focus from the big, shiny goal to the maybe boring daily grind.
It does. And it defines discipline very strategically.
Right.
It's not about feeling disciplined. It's stated as discipline is a strategy, not a mood.
So you follow the plan you made yesterday, not the feeling you woke up with today.
That's it. The moment you wait to feel inspired, you've lost. You've let the weather dictate your architecture.
This demands a pretty honest look at how we spend our time then. The sources are quite blunt about activity versus results.
Oh, very blunt. We all know people who look incredibly busy but aren't actually achieving much. The first reminder is stark. Busy is not productive. Just shuffling things around isn't valuable output.
Performing busyness.
Exactly. And the second point ties this time used directly to your actual values, your character. It's a very pointed critique. Your calendar is your character.
Ouch. So what you say you value doesn't matter as much as where your time actually goes.
Your calendar reveals your true priorities. If you say health matters, but there's no time blocked for exercise or planning meals, well, the calendar tells the real story.
And the material treats attention itself as a kind of resource, right? A finite one.
Very much so, which feels incredibly relevant now. Focus is a budget of attention. We only have so much deep concentration available each day.
Okay, so if focus is a budget, how do we enforce it? It's easy to say, harder to do with constant pings and notifications.
Enforcement comes back to boundaries, strong ones. The most practical advice here is say no to protect deep work.
And that's not just saying no to big things, is it?
No, it's often about saying no to the small things. The quick call, the just 5 minutes meeting, the constant urge to check email or social media. You have to fiercely guard those blocks of uninterrupted time needed for high-value work.
Right, the deep work requires unbroken stretches. And this relates to sustainability too, I imagine. Avoiding burnout.
Absolutely. That sprint and collapse model is unsustainable. The source emphasizes durability. Consistency compounds. Intensity burns out.
So better to be the tortoise than the hare.
No.
Steady progress wins.
Exactly. Showing up reliably, even at 70% capacity, is far more effective long-term than going all out at 120% for a week and then crashing for 2. Consistency keeps the system running.
Okay, that calculated, consistent approach. Let's apply it now to how we interact with the wider world. Money, failure and growth, and relationships. This feels like where calculation is maybe most critical.
Arguably, yes, because the stakes involve external capital, whether that's financial, social, or emotional. Starting with money and value, the sources immediately link good financial health to managing your ego.
Ego. How so?
Spending driven by the need to signal status is seen as the enemy of freedom. Wealth isn't just about the amount, it's about the gap. The definition they use is wealth is the gap between ego and expenses.
So the bigger the gap between what you need to spend to live and what you spend to show off, the wealthier you actually are, regardless of income.
That's the idea. It challenges that pure accumulation mindset. And it prioritizes survival viability above all else. There's a great analogy for this. Cash flow is oxygen. Vanity is perfume.
Okay.
You absolutely need the oxygen, the reliable income covering your needs. The perfume, the luxury, the status symbols is secondary. Secure the oxygen first.
And when it comes to opportunities, investments, taking on deals, the same rigor applies.
Even more so. You need to be deeply analytical, almost skeptical. The warning is clear. A deal without downside analysis is a donation.
A donation, meaning you're just giving money away if you haven't figured out the worst case scenario.
Pretty much. You have to calculate the maximum possible loss and ask yourself, am I truly okay if this happens, before you get blinded by the potential upside?
That's discipline. And they also mention a different kind of return, don't they? Beyond just the money.
Yes, a more holistic view. Sometimes the best return isn't the highest percentage gain. Sleep well is a return too.
Meaning the peace of mind from a stable, less risky approach has real value.
Huge value. If a high-yield venture means constant worry and stress that harms your health, maybe the profit isn't worth the cost to your well-being.
Okay, let's shift to failure and growth. How does this calculated approach handle setbacks? Failure feels like the opposite of calculation.
But the sources reframe it brilliantly. Failure isn't a judgment on your worth. It's viewed as a transaction, a data point.
A transaction.
Yeah, like paying tuition for a lesson. Failure is a receipt for lessons paid. The key, though, is you actually have to learn the lesson.
Which requires reflection.
Absolutely critical. They say suffering without reflection is just pain. If you go through a tough failure and all you take away is the hurt or the shame, you wasted the experience. You have to analyze why it happened.
That analytical approach means seeing challenges not just as barriers, but as, well, part of the curriculum.
That's exactly the framing. The obstacle is the syllabus. Whatever difficulty you're facing is the lesson you need to learn right now.
And this logic extends even to knowing when to stop something, right? When to quit.
Yes, it provides a rational basis for quitting, which often feels like failure, but isn't always. The rule is, quitting is correct when the premise is wrong.
Meaning, if the fundamental reason you started something turns out to be flawed, the logical move isn't stubborn persistence, it's cutting your losses.
Precisely. Don't double down out of ego if the foundation is cracked. Get out.
Okay, last category. Human relations. Applying logic and structure here can feel cold, maybe? Especially around things like kindness.
It can seem that way, but the argument is that structure actually enables sustainable kindness. Unstructured compassion can lead to burnout or resentment.
How so?
Kindness without boundaries becomes self-harm. If you're endlessly giving without defining limits, you deplete yourself, and paradoxically, you might end up being less helpful in the long run. Boundaries are essential.
So boundaries aren't about being unkind, they're about clarity.
They are instructions. Boundaries are instructions for respect. You have to clearly teach people how you expect to be treated, what's acceptable and what's not. Otherwise, they'll inevitably cross lines, often unintentionally.
And in the external world, like professionally, there's advice on what to value in others and yourself.
Yeah, it comes back to substance over signaling. Status is loud, character is quiet. Focus on delivering real value, not just projecting an image of success.
And in your close relationships.
Seek honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. A friend who warns you loves you more than one who comforts you. You need people who challenge you for your own good, not just tell you what you want to hear.
Okay. So bringing this all together,
Yeah.
what's the overarching message from this whole collection?
I mean, if you synthesize it all, it really is a toolkit for preemptive design. It's about building systems, internal and external, that are so well structured, so thought out, that success and, importantly, peace of mind become more probable, less reliant on luck or mood.
Right, making it almost inevitable through structure rather than hoping for the best.
Exactly. And you see how everything connects back to that core discipline of rational thought and prioritizing the long view. Even something like generosity needs structure. They note, generosity is strongest when planned.
Planned generosity.
Yeah, meaning it's integrated into your system, budgeted for, rather than being a purely impulsive act. That ensures you can keep being generous sustainably.
So it really puts the power and the responsibility squarely on you, the listener. Your outcomes aren't just fate, they're largely the result of the systems you design and adhere to.
That's the core message.
So to leave you with a final thought to chew on, pulling from this philosophy, consider these two related ideas. Respect follows independence, and trajectory beats position.
Powerful points.
The question to ask yourself is, how are you, right now, prioritizing your long-term trajectory? The rational systems, the boundaries, the consistent effort over your current position, your immediate status, or how you happen to feel today? That decision really shapes everything else.